the guy who makes the calls for TSM. Right. But if he's not making calls or making the wrong calls or is late on his calls, then X Special's going to come in, Odd One's going to come in, everyone's going to start talking at once, and people are going to get confused.
Get a little noise pollution.
So much noise pollution. And I've said it before, we'll say it again, a bad call that's followed by everyone works more frequently than a good call that's followed by half the people. And that's what TSM needs to eventually realize and just start making bad calls and just going with it.
That's one of my favorite sayings because it's just one of those like, oh, I get it. And it's so hard to do, though. Like, you have to put it into action. The words are so much easier.
We can say it all day, but X Special gets got by a stun!
Oh, X Specials, he may not have play for this one, but he definitely has the flash. It looks like NK Inc. taking some good damage. The Shock Blast just missed, so they miss a good amount of AoE. But the lockdown, he gets it! No, he goes down! It's going to be Vile Rose getting hit up. Reginald to follow, but that goes to Evaniscus. He had Ignite, so he picked up the kill. Maple Street looks to get out. One more shot from Wild Turtle, but he's almost going to be in turret range. They have to back off. Good damage from Dyrus, but they all back off here, and it's going to be one kill for each.
And it's early enough that they're going to be able to go back to base and, like last game, buy the wards. But this time there were, I think, 3 flashes burned on each side. NK Inc. may not make it back in time. That could really hurt his early jungle. But First Blood to TSM gives them the extra 200 gold, and also Reginald getting the kill versus the support Evaniscus getting a kill is far better for TSM.
Especially the fact that you're in that lane with Draven, you're level 2, you want to do a little bit more damage and your support doesn't have your Ignite anymore. So you don't have an exhaust for lane either, and that lane, that objective in the lane at least got a little bit hairier.
And that's if they were 2v2ing in the lane as well.
Right. Having
extra pink wards for Evaniscus may have helped him get brush control and help Maple Street aggress on Draven, but that's probably not even what we're seeing in this game. And after all that, NK Inc.'s going in late for this Odd One steal. I wonder if he's going to try a Smite War.
Looks like he's going to be actually making his way in with the entire team on this one. Inc. just on the outside, they're able to get it. Odd One very low here. They may be able to clean it up, but there is no level 2, no stand aside or crowd control.
That is huge because not only did they steal the blue buff, they stopped Odd One's time from getting that. So now Odd One has to go all the way over to the red buff, slowly get the level 2, burn his extra smite, all the while NK Inc. is trying to farm up.
Coming back to lane, very much so correct about the 2v1. Reginald taking a little bit of harass here as he, like you said, those wards really creating problems and helping both teams.
Yeah, that was a very good play by Reginald actually. Coming back with some of that First Blood gold. I think he picked up some extra potions and wards. And then, since Vile Rose was supporting the blue buff invade, Reginald kind of cut him off and just delayed his access to mid lane.
And see where both junglers are. Looks like it may be an invade here for the Odd One, though. He decides to go towards the top lane. Won't get anything out of that. And he will just, again, TSM, that soak of experience in the top lane. If they can get the kill at the turret, they may go for it.
So as soon as the Odd One gets his buff stolen away, like we've seen all the Nastas do, just go push a lane. You don't necessarily need to be in the jungle to create presence for your team. All the intangibles that Nasus brings, they might look to dive if they land something, but that's why NK Inc. is coming up for support.
That's going to be the scary one. The cocoon is missed. He goes into spider form, actually gets hit up. The repel is used right away, but there's not enough minions, I should say, there to help them dive this turret as NK Inc. approaches.
Yeah, and that's half the turret down. There's half a turret down on the other side as well as Dyrus is trying to hold this. This is a race between a 3v2 lane and a 2v1 lane trying to finish off turrets.
7-3, so he's not doing too bad in CS. Dyrus still having trouble himself, but I'm sure he's not taking that much damage. They go into the Odd One. X Special missing as they try to go for the over-the-shoulder hook.
And the other skill shot was dodged as well. We saw the cocoon fly out, no connect. If either one of those would have connected, I think it would have granted kills to the respective teams. So very fortunate dodging of those shots.
See where the wards are, or what is being prevented from happening right now, and Odd One still staying in this top lane. NK Inc. looks like he's going to hang out with Chris here. Chris is out of mana. This turret's very low. They're going quite hard in the Odd One here. Without that blue buff, his Spirit Fires are only so often, and now out of mana. They are going to try to go on this Special very low. Throws down the lantern. He goes down. NK Inc. is on Ignite, but he's going to live, and it's going to be the Odd One going down. The 2 for nothing.
2 kills, and they got the turret on the other side. Plus, since Chris got that 2-kill help up top, I don't think Velocity's going to lose this turret for some time, though. Anything can happen in these one-game best-of-ones in the LCS, and Wild Turtle's going to get 1v2'd.
Oh, Velocity Chris tries to pull it out with the bait there. Wild Turtle gets hit up, he barriers, but he goes down, and another kill for NK Inc.
Brilliant timing there by Chris and NK Inc. flashing out at the right moments to just get everything out from Wild Turtle. Turtle thought he was safe because of that barrier, but it wasn't quite enough.
They are playing so many mind games in the top lane. They said, hey, the odd one just left, and he has no mana. If he comes back, we can still win. Velocity knew they had that from the second they started the fight and played it very smart. 4-1 coming in now at 5 minutes in. That's 2,000 gold they've racked up for themselves along with a turret on the map.
And that's after not getting first blood.
Yeah.
So that is even bigger. A lot of that may have had to do with the blue buff that was stolen away. When Odd One went to push that top lane, 3v2, normally the 3v2 Nasus outpushes the 2v1, but he didn't have a blue buff, I feel like. And since NK Inc. was there supporting with the higher level and more experience, it may have given them the small edge they needed to win those engagements.
Looks like we do have that 2v going mid, and they will start to try and harass down Reginald. Maple Street doing his damnedest to get that damage down, 46 to 29 in that CS, so he's definitely winning if those 80 carries were ever to come head-to-head later part in the game. But Draven will start to fall off to that Caitlyn. Good damage from Chris, and he's getting quite aggressive. They have to know NK Inc. is just on the outside. They're going to be able to pressure this quite hard.
That damage.
Don't know if there's going to be a kill here, but they definitely are going to be able to win this lane pretty hard.
NK Inc. and Chris are getting real strong right now, and they're essentially turning that into a 2v2 lane that they have a pretty clear edge on. Chris can go in, get the engagement, and then NK Inc.'s going to come and follow up. 202 Eve this early in the game. When he picks up that Spirit of the Elder Lizard, his jungling speed, if he wants it, is going to go through the roof, and he could considerably outpace the Odd One in farm in this match.
And that 202 Eve actually is still on par with farm, and the Odd One actually just caught him, so all that time spent in the top lane going to his Qs, and the Spirit Fire not picking up as much, so he's getting such an advantage right now.
In overall minions, he's totally there, but NK Inc.'s 1,000 gold ahead.
Right.
Even though, like, jungle minions can lie to us all the time. That blue buff was a full level and a whole bunch of gold compared to that little ghosty ghost, which is worth 4 gold and almost no experience. So now NK, level 6 at 7 minutes.
Oh, the cocoon just missing. Xpecial really getting focused on Thresh this game, really following him around. It was the top lane, now the bottom lane. They're not even going for Turtle. They know they can get Xpecial.
And teams that do this can shut down Wild Turtle regardless. If they're taking out that guy's support, you're going to take out that guy. And if Wild Turtle has bad games, even though it's used to be about shutting down Reginald, shutting down their 80 carry threat on TSM is just as good.
Reginald already going to split push mode here. We're only 7 minutes, 40 seconds into this matchup. That turret has been dropped. Odd One picking really Spirit Fire from the outside.
Smited it down, actually.
Oh, he was in range. I didn't see the blast of gold light come down from the sky.
Yeah, that was actually kind of clutch for him, but that just goes to show how much map pressure that Velocity's being able to take up. He had to smite that away, and then they get the Dragon. TSM's doing everything in their power to get this back without fighting.
Dyrus just throwing off some shock blasts, letting them know that they are aware of their position and ready to push if they need to. Wards all the way down into the blue buff we just saw, which was pressured over by Velocity, and TSM's just trying to set up entry into their jungle, or stop that entry into their jungle right now, I should say. They know Velocity is on quite a roll. They want to figure out how to stop that right now.
And the next thing from Velocity is most likely going to be when NK Inc.'s next ultimate is up, since there's still that flash cooldown they know on Wild Turtle. It could be the camp continued for NK Inc. He's already level 7. Gonna be buying that Spirit of the Elder Lizard shortly from the base, and then he's honestly got super huge threat.
Quite interesting. The Philo Stone right off of that first, or not first blood, but a kill for Ebeniscus, not even going for the Sight Stone yet. So he's looking to really ramp up on that gold if these guys are headed towards that late game. Sight Stone just being picked up here by Xpecial, so they'll be able to stop. As Kobe says, you know, if a snowball's happening, get wards out. Make sure you deny vision, and then you can start to bridge your way back.
We're really going to have to track this Ebeniscus choice. Not going for pink wards or an early Sight Stone, but instead going for the gold per 10. Is just going to halt Velocity's pressure in the game because they've had it early, and it was actually what TSM's composition was kind of picked to do.
Looks like they're getting help here from NK Inc. as well. The Odd One, respectively, for TSM on the right side. NK also focusing so much in this top lane.
It's because he wants to shut down Wild Turtle, and also Maple Street. Velocity wants to get him going. When Velocity wins, Maple Street has great games. But TSM really holding back at their turret quite well. Unless Velocity's willing to turret dive this, they're not going to find a way to Wild Turtle. Look how passively he's farming.
Dyrus backing in that bottom lane. Odd One coming up to help a little bit. Looks like he's going to get his golems everybody is, after that first burst, maybe we're going to get another one of those just in succession games where it's just a huge burst of power and then everybody calms down once again once the summoners are down, once they don't have that fight potential.
And I gotta say, while all this is happening, TSM trying to flank in around the back. They could have a 4-on-3 here. They're gonna go for this fight if Reggie can close.
Watching out, who are they going to choose to get on? Oh,
Whoa.
Reggie gets seen right off the bat. The Ignite goes down. They could not close the gap fast enough. The odd one is there just to show some harass though. So now pretty much vision known on the map. Vile Rose will start to head top with the team here.
TSM did not go in sync right there because Reginald, he didn't have to burn a flash or anything. Essentially, he just burned the Eve ultimate. He got to shadow away. But considering that was a 4v3, I feel like they could have gotten more than that, as Darius is now getting 3v1.
Trying to get himself back around, hitting Chris towards his net. Is Vile Rose going to get in there in time? The Rune Prison goes out as he flashes. He's able to break it though, and it looks like he may be able to get out of this one. Yes, staying alive. NK Inc. takes quite a bit of damage, but there is no rebuttal coming from TSM on this.
And that was a lot spent by Velocity to get that. That was Flash. No, that wasn't Flash. Where was it? Was it Flash? It was Flash by Eve, actually, who tried to go in for the kill, whereas all the solo laners still have it. So not as much as I thought at first.
Velocity going back. Giving that over to Maple Street on the blue buff there. May have been a little bit of a bleed stack, may have been a bit of a mistake, but we're going to see how they utilize it here to siege clear the turret. Maple Street getting hit up huge right there. Shock Blast and the shurikens from Reginald Zed.
Oh, nice
Looks
hook.
like he could get him a few more. He gets the death mark down, but there's not nearly enough damage, and he goes down.
Great lockdown of Reginald in the turret as he tried to all in. It looked like TSM had gotten enough poke down, but they had not, and the crescendo shut him down.
Still holding that turret quite strong. It looks like Velocity picking up one more kill isn't showing TSM any breathing room here. 2,000 gold still in the lead. The Cocoons relentless coming in from Chris. Even if they aren't kills, they are constantly hitting harass.
And Velocity has a sustained hold right here. It's Sona versus no Sona, but because they have a lead, sitting around in mid lane against a team that can wave clear as well as the NASA's Jace team plus Caitlyn is not something Velocity wants to do. They can defend that, collapse and get kills, and then go back to their side lanes. That's a good play by Velocity.
Still a clean 2,000 gold cut up on Team SoloMid right now. Velocity held the top lane huge. 2 kills coming in for NK Inc. Chris getting hit up pretty hard here. That's because NK Inc.'s on the backside, as always. Gets locked up, a nice trap by Turtle. And again, NK Inc. out harassed in the fight.
Surprisingly, these NK Inc. Eve ultimates aren't making that much of an impact. He's using them very close to turrets, and then the enemy's just kind of walking back. They're not coming in with a whole bunch of hard burst on top of it, because Velocity just hasn't been in position to do so. I'd have to say TSM's putting up pretty good wards here, considering the 5-1 start that Velocity started out with, and they're actually weathering the storm pretty well.
So at 1 minute and 29 seconds, definitely a little bit longer for an ultimate that you'd usually see 60 seconds used repetitively as Eve is using hers. Is that something that, you know, they're putting fear into TSM that's going to force flashes?
Usually the Eve ult is trying to force the flashes, and obviously his ultimate is the only gate on that. An Eve gank without an ult isn't really a real Eve gank once this game comes in. So as soon as he pops that ultimate, he actually loses a lot of pressure on TSM, which gives TSM the confidence to maybe try to siege down mid again, knowing that that ultimate is down for another little bit.
This reminds me of an old Gragas throwing barrels whenever he could, just chucking them out because he can. We'll see if NK Inc. continues this aggressive style of Eve ulting under turrets in the further gameplay. Almost up onto 15 minutes here. We should see some core items coming out soon. Looks like Maple Street already put a Bloodthirster in his hands with the red elixir, which is quite odd because 350 gold definitely hinders your next item upgrade.
Yeah, he really is just looking for a spike of power because Velocity looks like they made up their mind. They said, we got an early lead here, guys. Let's go for it. But that is actually even more confusing because Evaniscus went for the long game, whereas Maple Street's going for the short game. And now TSM might try to force a dragon fight, which would be very close at this point.
Looks like Evaniscus was able to time up to that sight stone that he's gotten for himself. Now we have the Elder Lizard versus the Elder Golem stones coming out for the Odd One and NK Inc. respectively. We'll have to see. Those fights are all about aggression for Velocity here. The Odd One looking to appeal for his team.
And Reginald still sitting on the side. 126 farm tops on his team. And if we actually look at the minion kill disparity, if we add it all up, TSM's way ahead right now.
Good poke. Evaniscus very low onto this. They do have Crescendo up for the fight. Maple Street putting himself out in front, just absolutely being a brute.
And this 4v4, if Dyrus lands a couple more of these Shock Blasts, could be disastrous for Velocity. Velocity has taken so much damage from this Dragon. If they want to get a clean engage, they'd have to go now. They can't just keep poking at it. They're taking free damage.
They're kind of just setting it up for the odd one to take overall. If Wild Turtle starts getting those shots, they got the pink ward. They know they have overall vision. But to come back into this fight, they have to know where NK Inc. is. Oh my god!
Oh man. And that's just yet another Shock Blast. Plus, Reginald has come down, and he is the only level 11 in his game, so he's the only one with a rank 2 ultimate. That was great objective control by TSM. Just Shock Blasting Velocity out of there.
Positioning themselves with the Shock Blast and completely getting a Dragon. Moving out, Evaniscus almost goes down in the end of that one, and you can see Armor. Oh my gosh, going in on Dyrus. Chris tries to go quite hard into this. Does not have a Sunfire Cape finish, which he really wishes he had. Tries to go even harder. The Lantern coming in from Xpecial. The rest of the team is able to get there. The ultimate goes down. Turtle's getting quite hurt up. Gets the Lantern shield, barrier, and flash, and he still dies. NK Inc. goes in the 1-for-1. Beautiful fight from both teams.
That was the best ultimate NK Inc. has gotten off all game because it trapped TSM in a situation they didn't really want to be in. But after all that, it is a 1-for-1 and Velocity gets the turret. A nice answer to TSM's poke game.
This has to be getting scary for them when you see that Chris alone can walk himself halfway through the lane with the team coming to help him and he's not dead yet. That means TSM not focusing the wrong people, but they have to figure out whether they want to go for this engagement or not, because that's a few times now that NK Inc. has completely turned around a fight that TSM should have had.
Yeah, and full tank Elise can take a few hits, but he's not the spike damage we're kind of used to. We've seen so many level 9 Elises catch a Jace like Dyrus in one of those stuns and just burst him down. A, Dyrus had the Hex Drinker for a bit of defense, but B, Chris has no magic penetration and no ability power yet, so he just wasn't able to do that. Interesting choice. We'll see if it pans out.
Good turret take by Velocity in the top lane. They 2,000 gold lead is holding steady, which means Team SoloMid is adapting. Yeah, they're going down, but they got themselves that Dragon. They're keeping the gold lead in, and that's something that Team SoloMid will always do. It's keep themselves up there. We saw the CLG TSM game. It went on because TSM could keep themselves in. Same with CLG though, just back and forth, back and forth.
And the scariest thing about TSM right now is Reginald's farm. 160 at 17 minutes. If we just compare that across, he's a full, I know we're not comparing top laners, 70 up on Chris.
And the last time you said that, it was actually even with Maple Street as he goes hard here onto Chris. Looks like he will have those cooldowns up in just a second, but NK Inc. again on the other side every single time.
4, 1, and 2 on that jungle Eve. He is all over the map. And that's not even counting the ganks that aren't working, because he's had a lot of those. He's just in so many positions, creating a bunch of fights, and now they might try a blue buff invade, but this is actually a 4v4. Evolve is up.
Oh my gosh, he comes into the fight once again, throws it down, gets a pretty nice shield off of that one. Xpecial forced to flash, the Draven ulti not really hitting. Crescendo across the odd one, the Lantern save. It looks like the odd one will even make it out of this one alive. The stand aside to finalize the kill, picked up by Bile Rose.
So everyone got to go out except the odd one. They gave the Lantern to Wild Turtle after Xpecial flashed over. It's like, I'm sorry, man, I can only take one of you. They leave the odd one to die, but a nice jungle invade by Velocity once again.
Velocity is moving these chess pieces 2 and 3 steps ahead. Reginald was down on that. Velocity said, yeah, we have enough power to go into the jungle and throw TSM off. They did it. And they did it with Reginald down. Odd one is now down, and they're trying to pressure it once again. But Reginald is back. The AoE damage that they need is there, and he starts to clean it up with a double kill.
That is a scary Zed without even an ultimate. He was just spinning around on people. Soon to have a Last Whisper as well. That's a nice response by Reginald. I'd say Velocity overstayed their welcome by a long shot. They had no Crescendo, no Eve ultimate, and they miscounted the time of Reginald, not expecting him to be there in time. That's why he came in for that clean double.
And those are the kind of things Velocity does not want to see happening on Reginald. Nope. Zed's not going to come in and 5v5 everyone. He's going to find those 1v1s. He's going to start taking people out systematically, and they're going to be able to start pressuring more things. With those 2 down, TSM starts to grab that advantage in bottom lane with a turret. Looks like they may move to mid. Remember, that last Dragon was there, so that timer is there as well.
And I feel like this is going to be another one of those games where Reginald feels like he has to put his team on his back and go for it. This happened in the TSM vs COG game, where Reginald had a ton of farm on Karthus and was really keeping them in the game. But in this situation, TSM hasn't lost all of their turrets yet, so they're still having a bit of freedom to roam around and make moves. I'd expect probably the next Dragon to have a much bigger fight, and since TSM showed their superiority just by Jace's poke from Dyrus, even when the gold lead was about 2,000 or 3,000 in the favor of Velocity, now that the gold is close to 500, and Reginald's hit some really great item break points, that could be the point where TSM tries to turn the game around.
And we have to see how much is it really going to come around to bite Team SoloMid that they've pretty much come into this with a full AD composition, and we're already seeing that affect the fights right now.
Yeah, that's why we have a Sunfire Cape Rush by Chris, because they're just directly trying to itemize against TSM's armor damage. I don't think it has an impact yet. It might have an impact late once Ryze gets a Frozen Heart and at least really starts tanking up, but for now, damage is just damage.
Dyrus still trying to get that poke out. We saw him almost snipe out Evaniscus last time. The ward's going down for entry-exit into the jungle. And you can see one just visual statistic that says Velocity is on the upper hand. They aren't warding their own jungle. They're not worried about that. Oh my god, Chris getting hit up by Reginald. Reginald still rocking. No, he used the Blade of the Rune King. That burst is there. Does he have another one? Flashes over the wall. Shadow's not up. Chris is just, or Vile Rose rather, just on the other side.
Oh, they might be
that out. Thread the needle. He threads it, but there's just too much armor on the Spider.
And TSM is trying to flank around from many different places here. I think they got each other low enough that they are just going to back away, but Velocity can't keep 1v.
Wow. Absolutely. Maple Street throwing it over the shoulder on that one. Takes out Reggie. What Velocity made moves last time they got a kill onto Reginald. What will they do with this one?
Just look at all the wards, that are in the jungle there that allowed that kill to happen, because Velocity was deeply invading that jungle and they were able to pull something off. What I was going to say is that Chris can't keep 1v1ing Reginald because he's clearly going to lose that matchup over and over again. Eventually, Velocity will have to find a different answer to that. Maybe it's the collapse every time, but I don't think that's feasible.
It's the loss of this matchup always puts him up, though. It's so odd. It's not something you see happen all the time. Chris is 1-0-5. Each one of these has been, whether he likes it or not, a successful bait. But NK Inc., he's got mobility boots on whether he likes it or not, because he is everywhere right now. He doesn't. He's got home guard Sork boots, but he's everywhere.
He's fast enough on even. Maybe they're going for a turret dive here, coming around the back.
Xpecial, always the one getting damage on this game, and that's the focus of Velocity right now. Every time they see him, they do everything they can because of what he can do in the team fight. We've heard teams say he can change it himself. When he's not in the fight, that's not going to happen, and Velocity is looking to pin that down before every fight happens.
This wouldn't necessarily be worth it, though, for Velocity. If Wild Turtle goes off and solos that Dragon for just a red buff steal, that's exactly what TSM wants here. Since TSM fell behind early, they're just looking to draw this out until they can find team fights, and a Dragon will make them more potent in the next one.
This is definitely in Velocity's mind right now. They haven't seen Team SoloMid for an extended period of time, which they were just up top. So they're saying, I think we just got dragoned. Let's at least get the timer on that right now. They had to have done it. So they get the answer to that question. 31,000, that's about 1,000K, or no, actually, the goal exactly even.
Damn.
Count.
As Reginald actually goes in for a fight, this might be over-aggressive.
That's the systematic 1v1 he wanted, but he found a few more.
Yeah, he found an invisible shadow thing from somewhere.
He knows all about shadows, though.
He knows all about that stuff. That's not the best fight for Reginald. He's continually dying here, but still having the majority of his team's gold. So it's a very interesting position he's putting himself in, since Reginald has taken so much farm that he needs to be the lead of the team here, but he is putting himself consistently in these bad situations.
And the way that Velocity is going about this is working in their favor so much, right? They're not racking up too many bounties. Nobody's going to go down and put TSM right back in the game. These fights are really just spread across. Everybody's getting core items that they need, and like we said, those are going to be focused on armor because TSM just brought this 80 composition in. The bulwark coming out from the odd one, and we see pure damage from everybody else.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out whether the late game for TSM is better or late game for Velocity is better. And we will find out since the gold is so even here. It's just the balance between having double physical and how much armor pen can you really get there versus Velocity, who's, late game Draven is very difficult to team fight compared to late game Caitlyn. Xpecial's Thresh is incredibly potent versus Evaniscus' Sona. It will be close, even though a lot of times you think, oh, just build armor against 5 physical. It's not that simple.
And Evaniscus himself is even maxing Q. Q is maxed 3 in his W and 1 for that speed movement of the team. he's looking to get the damage out as well with that Ignite run on his Summoner spell. Coming onto this turret in the bottom lane, not getting too much damage down onto it. They're really going for the fight right now when they have enough minions to just push.
But Crescendo only hit one. Reginald might want to go here if they get any kind of catch.
There's the shot gate. Nobody's really going anywhere.
Yeah, that's why Velocity got out of there. They're like, hold on. Crescendo hit one and we didn't get anything. Let's leave. This is a very bad place to be. It's smart that they were able to back up after that.
Sing a different tune when that one misses. 10-4, and they are going to be up 600 gold that they found a little bit. Reginald forced to shadow out. The Miramana finished up onto Dyrus. That poke to get a little bit more. And something that TSM hasn't really been able to utilize with this comp is the turret diving we thought they'd be doing. They've been on the back heel the whole time.
Yeah, they would have loved to turret dive. They just haven't had the lead to do so. Reginald, he's the best, one of the best turret divers in the game. Would have went in there all the time on Zed. The one time he tried to turret dive mid, he got caught in a crescendo and died right away because they haven't had the lead or the map pressure necessary to even get all the turrets pushing, let alone dive.
Well, you can see that is upping, right? Velocity's now taking into consideration they do have to ward their own jungle. We saw for the last 5 minutes that was not happening. They're starting to feel the pressure here, and it looks like that turret damage that they wanted is coming in. Maple Street, the death mark gonna hit. Tries to cleanse that off, still takes the damage on it. It looks like they're going to continue to go into the fight. He gets hit up a few more times. Everybody's just kind of chaotically running around, but they do find the kills. 2 go down on the side of TSM. NK Inc. tries to get out, and he's the only one. He caused so much chaos, they finally were able to focus him.
And NK wrecked Wild Turtle in the back of that fight. While Reginald was going in, NK was coming around the back, and even though it was a 2-for-1, Velocity won that by a lot more because everyone on TSM having to go back to base and shop right now while Velocity pushes up mid.
A fantastic showing by Velocity right now with NK Inc. coming out of the jungle on Eve. 26 minutes in, they grabbed the second tier turret on that mid lane, and Chris, that exoskeleton, too strong.
So they definitely pulled a bit back there, even though Maple Street wasn't involved in that fight. Reginald tried his best to assassinate Maple Street, but that's the great thing about bringing Rise as a caster carry, a mage carry for you. He's got almost 80 carry persistent threat. So even if you all out dive the Draven, you're still worried about the Valros. Most mages you wouldn't worry about that because even if you get them down really fast, they'll blow their combo and kind of be out of there. Not the same for Rise.
See where they decide to move. Jat, that Frozen Heart finish now, definitely affecting the rest of the team. We may even see, unless it's just the Seekers, he hasn't really built into, nor maybe he doesn't have enough money yet. He's got 1,400, so I guess he is spiking up for that Zanya's.
Especially since NK Inc. died recently and came back out of base with 1,400, he's definitely saving up for an AC large rod. He will be going for Zanya soon.
Chris picking up blue buff and going to get himself back in. We'll see what the wardage going down. Especially with an Oracle. Throwing down some over at Baron. Vile Rose just soaking up and pushing all the lanes. Right now, the bottom lane is the only thing that they have to worry about. But with the map, everybody, all eyes on Baron, it's not too big of a threat.
No, and Dyrus got his transform from his Manamune too.
Yep.
Merman, he got that a little while ago, but it hasn't came into big play in any of these team fights yet. TSM still trying same old here. Reginald split pushing. The team fights haven't worked out for TSM when they got them. And maybe since Reginald has double the minion kills of Chris's Elise, or very close to, and still 1,700 gold on him, he might try to force that 1v1.
Checking out some more inventories. Both supports looking to make the plays. Mobility boots coming out there on both ends. You see the Sightstone Rubies finally finished up as the 80 carries go 236 to 204 in that 3-1-3 right now for Maple Street. On his Draven, really not odd that pick went through, but definitely something that's been banned over the past few games we've seen.
It's by far Maple Street's most played 80 carry, and TSM knows that. They just had other things in mind with those Kayle bans.
So Velocity had the timer on this as they did make their way down before the Dragon, so it does not go into consideration for them, but they're still up 300 gold even with that in favor of TSM. 4-3 in turrets at 30 minutes.
And Reginald is going to push down this bottom lane, but Velocity is rushing down the Baron without a pink ward, mind you. So this is completely seen by TSM, and they're running to try to get there, but they may not make it in time.
There's the Shock Blast. They have 2 on the backside. Chris taking damage. They're able to get it. NK Inc. grabs up the Baron, and they're going to be able to turn on this. Reginald still coming from the lane. Will he be the solution to this fight? Odd1 going quite hard. He has Maple Street right in his eyes. Throws down the death mark. There goes one. Reginald's still in the fight, but he's not getting enough lifesteal back. And it's going to be Velocity pulling through this one. Another one onto the Odd1. Vile Rose coming up big on this one. In the background, you can hear him screaming, picking up the triple kill on Rise.
What a huge fight for Velocity and a ballsy call there. No pink ward on Baron. Knowing TSM is coming for you, they killed that fast. They knew they would kill it fast, and then they turned immediately for the fight. It's very rare that a team is willing to take so much damage from Baron and risk it, but that's the way Velocity plays, and it paid off.
That is the third time we've seen somebody take Baron and instantly turn to fight. This is a fad that's now happening, and the trend has been set, and people are riding the wave.
I really wonder how TSM's going to react to this one now, Riv, because that was Reginald getting caught in his split push game. He went right after that Dragon all the way down bottom. And yeah, you pointed out those wards. 7 wards in the Baron area. It's pretty good.
Wow. You're not going to lose that fight. Not by vision, that's for damn sure.
No one's going to be hiding on you.
Nope.
So it's funny, they put 7 wards in the Baron area, but didn't have a pink for the Baron pit. They were daring TSM to come at him.
They still don't. They still don't. We're going to see what Evaniscus has. He does have an Oracles, though, as he slides onto my screen. Wild Turtle, you see in the top lane, farming it out, 214. And he's kind of not had too much harassment, right? These guys have been doing what they want. Maple able to stay up 241 to that 215. 3 core items finished, looking to get a Phantom Dancer and Last Whisper finished over on the side of Turtle. Looks like he's in between the both right now.
And
there's one.
Yeah, and looking at the item builds as well, because we talked earlier about the 5 physical team and how it's going to have an interplay. There's an arms race between Velocity's ability to get armor and TSM's ability to shred it. And right now, Velocity is way ahead because they finished Frozen Heart Zhonya's, they've got the Ninja Tabi on Rise, whereas TSM only has now 2 Last Whispers completed, but no Black Cleaver on anyone. Oftentimes Zed or Jace will build a Black Cleaver, but they're not going for it this game, which I feel like gives Velocity a huge edge.
There are 5 members up right now. Reginald in the bottom lane for a turret for an inhibitor.
He's trying to make a play. I don't think TSM could have 5v5 at an exposed inhibitor. So Reginald says, give it up, I'm gonna get us some gold back, and maybe they'll expose themselves for a fight. Rise Flash!
That's exactly what they were waiting for. The Lantern's there, but NK Inc. flashes with the Eve ultimate. The Caliber net misses, and NK Inc. is going hard into the base. The team says no. We have to hold off on this one, and they control the Bloodthirst from there. Reginald going hard. Reginald, in the end, gets himself an inhibitor turret here, and TSM has to stop these guys from backing.
Unfortunately, TSM is a little bit scared or even gun-shy of losing their base right now, so they did not engage onto Velocity, because if TSM got counter-aced, Velocity would have been able to end the game in TSM's base faster. So I think TSM was content just letting Vile Rose go back and Reginald taking those 2 turrets. That was a smart play by TSM, not trying to interrupt the recalls.
And Velocity, right after taking that, they wanted blood. They had to get out and save face with what they had. More than not, teams will kind of sit in an already pushed lane and figure, why aren't we going anywhere? You have to get somewhere else once you take that.
And that's why Velocity faked back and then tried to engage. It's just TSM played the in-between just right. They didn't get close enough to get a clean engagement. You notice NK Inc. had to flash to get his E-Vault on. That meant no Crescendo could get in range. They only locked down 1 person to keep him back, which was then countered by the Thresh Lantern. The whole disengaged scenario played out really cleanly for TSM there.
Reginald looks like he's given himself another life. Guardian Angel being picked up by him quite quick. He had no pieces to that item as he just went back and purchased it. So put that under his belt on sale. We'll see what he can do with it in this next fight. It will be up, but he is still pushing. So I guess that's just more focus. Focus me, focus my Guardian, I'll be fine.
It's also what Zed does, and it's his only answer against this Velocity team right now, who is stronger in team fights. He's trying to trade turrets back. There's no way TSM stopped Velocity from taking those outers. Reginald wants to at least get something back in return.
3 Last Whispers now created up onto Team SoloMid. Like you said, no Black Cleaver, so each one of them single target, shredding that armor for themselves. Looks like Velocity starting to move in onto this turret. You gotta remember, we've heard before, Draven, not the best turret shotter. Vile Rose getting hit up. Evaniscus is very low. Does not, yes, he does get the chance to Crescendo off. Shutdown coming in onto Vile Rose. Good money going to Dyrus. NK Inc. tries to get into the fight. Chris just on the backside as they throw down Zhonya's, and that was enough power to turn the heads of TSM.
And nobody on TSM died, gets everyone on Velocity's low. They might chase through the Jace gate.
Oh, will he be able? Itsy Bitsy Spider is up the spout. Almost comes up with a kill on Reginald. 17, and he flashes over the wall, gets out safe. No, the follow from the Caliber net. Everybody is so low. This is a one-shot shop here for Wild Turtle if he can get out to this.
But it's just the one that TSM gets off that. Velocity had NK Inc. come in late in that fight, which meant the E-Vault was almost inconsequential. That E-Vault does there's a way it works. It does max health, no, current health damage. Yes, it does a percentage of your current health. There's the words I'm looking for. Read the screen, Jack. And since everyone on TSM was already around half, that E-Vault did about half as much damage as it would have been if he initiated with it. So that, combined with the fact that TSM was smartly fighting under their turret, just made it so TSM was very well able to come out on top of that one.
So as we see a little bit of a pause here, but so far Velocity coming out so big on this matchup. They haven't been really able to control the Dragons lately, but we're going to see if we get Maple Street back onto this one. Looks like he may have a sound issue. We got Zion and I working on it. It says keyboard. On my keyboard, something's malfunctioning.
Well, they'll be able to solve this one quickly, especially on this July 4th weekend. A lot of games to go. All these guys played twice this weekend. I like how the LCS schedule this season is synced up, so all the standings are always the same. After every day, everyone's played the same amount of games, so we always know where everyone's at.
It definitely flows the chart better for everyone, and we can see where the standings start to move. The top and the bottom start to spread out a little bit more, and we'll get that again. I don't think our top and the bottom really worked this year in the minds of
There's no top and bottom sections. I mean, there's a top team.
Yeah.
You know, Cloud9 is top team, and Velocity is a 2-8, but everything, like, it's a smooth transition. There's no, last season it was a top 4 and a bottom 4. Now it's a standard set of teams.
And we see Maple Street getting back into the game. He just had to find his way home on this one. It was a little tough.
Look at the sign.
Look at the signs.
Oh, it's Maple Street. There it is.
There it is. I got it. Looks like he is back in the game. There's Evaniscus on your screen as well. The Mr. Maple Man himself, the odd bro. Many actually had him sign the odd bro at MLG. They said, Maple Street, can you sign your name the odd bro? And he's like, okay. And he gets a kick out of it too. It's pretty funny.
I like the story of how Maple Street and Odd One like reunited themselves. It's like, Odd One played against him. He didn't even know his brother played, and he's just like, I'm your brother, dude. He's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Then after the game, he like messaged on Skype, was like, I am. He's like, really? I'm glad you play the game. And now they're both in the LCS.
It's like, I didn't realize my brother was that good at the game, so I didn't believe him. Cruel brotherly love right there. Making sure everybody's set. We got readies on the screen, ready, steady, and go. Looks like we will get these guys back into the matchup within the next 10 seconds or so. You can see it counting down on your screen. Back to the action, and this game has been packed with just that. A ton of action. 16-8 right now. A Dragon already being pursued again by Team SoloMid. They've had quite the grabs on Dragon coming into this game.
They've had real good control of that objective. You can see 4th Dragon there for TSM. One of the big things keeping their gold even in this game, since they're down in turrets and down in kills, it's Reginald's farm from the split push and those Dragons that have given them so much. And before that pause, we got to recount, TSM had a really strong hold at their inhibitor turret in the bottom lane. And now Velocity's trying to get something back, but this whole time, Velocity hasn't gotten the clean engages on TSM that they want.
You know what TSM has got? The gold back to even. 6-5 in turrets, 36 minutes into this game. There's a grab onto Chris. That's a lot of damage that Chris does not see before the fights. This is how TSM can get themselves back in the game. It's absolutely the way that Vulcan wins when they have Xerath, is they make the fights start at half health.
And the armor arms race we were talking about earlier has the Black Cleaver completed onto Dyrus. So they have 3 Last Whispers and a Black Cleaver. Maximum team shred right now for them if Velocity's trying to tank through this. And now we might have the fight around Baron. Velocity's trying to flank around the backside, but it doesn't look like they're finding the right formula.
And I feel like TSM is kind of doing the strat that Velocity did the Curse when they won. TSM lost those inhibitors, but Reginald was pushing. They're saying, yeah, we'll lose 1 or 2, but we're still pushing so hard that you're not going to be able to stop us. And that's the point that TSM is getting to right now. It's weird to see how unworried they are about that inhibitor being down. Now up, but it was down.
One thing is the middle inhibitor, if they're pressuring Baron, Reginald can clear that while they still have presence there. If they'd lost the bottom lane inhibitor, TSM would be much more constrained and worried about going back to their base. They can kind of handle this one. The only other thing TSM has to worry about is the increased health of the other lane minions. When an inhibitor goes down, all those other lanes gain an extra 100 health. I know we say that every time, but it's very important, and it's why TSM side lanes are pushing.
Way past the river, and that will have to be tended to by Team SoloMid quite soon. Looking around at the items, seeing what these guys are trying to put into their inventories. Now looking at this, the item mitigation, as we said, the damage reduction from the armor, where does it really fall off for them? Is there going to be a point when you can't build enough armor and that damage is just going to start coming from them in true damage form?
It's a mix, because right now TSM is max shred.
Okay.
So the armor they build is still effective, but not nearly at the same ratio that it was before. It's still going to reduce the damage,
of course,
but you're never going to completely make yourself immune to it. I think that's kind of the point Varros is hitting right now, because he's built a lot of armor without too much health. He's at 274 armor, but he's only got 2,500 health. So since armor means you take like a lower percentage of damage, you need to run the health with the armor if you want to be super efficient about it. And Varros is a little too heavy on the armor right now.
Let's see how TSM applies this armor shred. It's going to have to be that perfect shock blast that they initiate on or continue to get into the fight from Dyrus. It will definitely give them an upper hand. They have the Locket to fight with here. They have a Zanya's on Eve, however, so the Locket really team assist over that, getting into the... Whoa, Evaniscus taking a good shot there. Looks like they're getting ward clearance down. Velocity's been very aggressive. We just saw them take a Baron in the eyes of TSM. There was a ward there. Evaniscus grabbed over. They don't get the damage. They do get the damage on the Baron. It's not going to be one more attack. Oh, he took it already. Woo. That was just the image.
Woo. It's a bit scary there for a little Evaniscus right there, and he completely shuts him back. That's almost the second time Evaniscus has taken more than half of his health just by clearing out the Baron pit. The Jace damage from Dyrus is making that a very dangerous thing for him, and even though NK wants to flank around the back of TSM right now, he's got to wait for Evaniscus to get back.
Both teams playing the ward game. Who has the best Oracle? It looks like both of them are going to equal out on this. The ward still on Baron is going to be in favor of Velocity, but we're not going to have Team SoloMid really ready to jump that and get on the other side. Reginald, Chris almost meeting. You can see Wild Turtle is just forced to focus to clean up right now. Maybe Velocity wants that pressure. They want to focus that because of Wild Turtle. They
recognize Wild Turtle was gone, and they're trapping themselves in with Baron again. They'd have to find a fight off the side of this, but they can't get that stun onto Dyrus. If they can get a stun on a priority target, Velocity will pile in. It's just about getting that good initiation, because if Velocity doesn't go in clean, they've already seen that they can't win these fights.
And these turtle traps, so good. Coming into the fight, really stopping and engage from happening. Good dodge by Chris. Velocity and team look to put all their pressure towards this mid lane. They feel they can win a 5v5.
Even with Reginald's Guardian Angel being back up again, so it's been over 5 minutes since we've seen that last big team fight where Reginald's GA was popped. The tricky thing here is NK Inc. wants to get around the sides, and TSM's not really leaving them the openings to do this. Velocity almost has to go back and pull a Baron rush off again, but that's a super dangerous play, and you can only get away with that so many times before it backfires.
Velocity has to be careful. This is when losing that fight becomes big. They can clear bottom wave, but they have a big push in the top wave and Baron to their name if they win this fight. So a lot of things are swinging in the favor of Team SoloMid. That wave for them in the bottom is stopping. So a fight here would be huge.
And TSM's got to be all too familiar with these kind of games. They had a game like this against Curse and against CLG. Now we see a fight.
Vyro's locked down. He goes down. The death mark was enough. Evaniscus flies down as well. And it looks like Maple Street is going to be hit up. TSM positioning perfectly for this one. Reginald gets the GA popped. They're going to clean up the fight. It looks like it may be a clean ace on this one. Reggie back up. Focused a little bit, but they're all done.
5-4-0. TSM waited 41 minutes to find that fight, but they got it. They had all the shred together. They're the ones who got the initiation. Velocity could not engage them in sync because TSM spread out too much and really punched Velocity in the face before they were ready. They might end on this push.
It was, like I said, Jack, the best time they could have won a fight. Minions in the top lane pushing down, giving them strength, even if they can't get this as a final push, but it's the Nexus turrets in their eyes. They don't need the rest of the minions. They have 3 there to tank just for the gratuity of it. And it looks like Team SoloMid will come out with the win after being down, I'd say a good 70%.